In my time reading manga, I very rarely find something that I can say I enjoyed every single page of, but recently there's been a manga that not only fits this description but goes beyond. I don't enjoy every page, I enjoy every single panel. That manga is The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You. If you haven't read it already, you've likely heard it mentioned, especially since it had a recent anime adaptation, and chances are you've also probably seen this manga page floating about, which I'd like to talk about a little later on. But to summarize the manga, it's about a boy who gets 100 girlfriends. Your mind might go into a few directions when you hear that. Maybe you think it might be some sleazy harem manga, or the sheer number will clue you in that it's a gag comedy series, which it is. The ridiculous number of girlfriends our protagonist Rentaro is fated to meet is absurd. It's a perfect silly hook that serves to make fun of harem manga and anime. There's no way a single person can have 100 girlfriends. The maintenance and time you'd need would make that impossible. And while it's treated as something silly in the manga, 100 Girlfriends is also surprisingly serious at times, well written, and Rentaro as a character is certainly not a sleaze. I'm not an expert on harem manga or an avid consumer of it, but like most people on Earth, I think and care a lot about my relationship status. We are social creatures by nature. We want to be around others and experience life with each other. Something that's pushed a lot by older people, peers, and the media we consume is romance, partnership, and eventually marriage. The default to these romantic relationships is often monogamy. Giving yourself to one person is virtuous and sacred, and having multiple partners is often seen in a less positive light. I'd wager that for the majority of people, the idea of a harem is something indulgent and greedy. Characters who take multiple partners may do so out of love, but desire often overrules them, or they're just in some kind of limbo waiting to pick their favorite. Generally, I think this is what most people think of when harem manga is brought up, and this is how they might feel towards the protagonists of those manga. This is different for Rentaro from 100 Girlfriends though. While the manga is steeped in goofy gag energy, Rentaro isn't a character that frivolously wants 100 girlfriends. He doesn't want to build a harem either. Initially, he just wants to find a girlfriend after being rejected 100 times. And due to a mistake on God's part, he's fated to have 100 soulmates. The thing is, while he can pick and choose what girl he wants, there's a stipulation to this that should he reject someone who he's fated to be with, they will die. So there's an even bigger incentive for Rentaro to be with these girls. And also, regardless of this, he's fated to fall in love with all 100. He doesn't just get a crush on them, but genuinely falls in love with each one. He loves each one equally, as one is expected to love their one true love. It's just in this case, he has 100 one true loves. This is incredibly silly and contrived, but it leads to tons of moments throughout the manga of Rentaro showing genuine affection for each of his fated lovers. He doesn't treat them like a harem or some hot girls he can just pull around on a whim, but each separately as an individual who he loves greatly. He's willing to go above and beyond for every single one of them, cater to each of their interests and styles of love, and he also makes sure he has time for each one. It's made me think a lot about the human capacity to love. The rules that have been laid out before us are that we're only allowed to love one person romantically, usually. In the 100 Girlfriends universe, God says as much too, as in chapter 1, he says everyone is fated to have one partner, except Rentaro because of a slip-up on his part. Monogamy is the norm in our world and most fictional ones, but I feel like the manga puts forward a very positive idea of polygamy. We as humans might have the capacity to share our love amongst many others. We kind of do already anyway. Maybe not romantically, but we share love with our friends, family, and lovers on a day-to-day basis. So the idea of having the time, energy, and love for more than one person romantically isn't that weird when you put things into perspective like this. If you have the capacity to romantically love more than one person, and everyone involved is okay with that and is happy with that, what's the harm in polygamy? It's something I've thought more and more about, conceptually at least, because of 100 Girlfriends, and it's made me feel happier on my views of people and love overall. We often shackle ourselves with rules as humans, ones that we ingrain so deeply into society that it feels taboo to break them or even discuss these topics. But I think 100 Girlfriends approaches the idea of polygamy in a silly and heartfelt way that makes it approachable and easy to talk about, and I really respect that. Now I think is a good time to tackle this monstrosity. It's posted on social media a lot with people saying, "I ain't reading all that," or as an example of bad manga paneling or spreads sometimes. It's surprising to me how dense people can be, because clearly this spread is 1. Rentaro listing tons of reasons why he loves each of his 9 current girlfriends at this point in the story. It shows how deep his love is for each of them, and he's able to well up all these feelings on the spot. It's admirable and romantic. And 2, this is just a massive joke. It perfectly encapsulates the farce that 100 Girlfriends is. It's always absurd and over the top, just like how these massive word bubbles are over the top and filled to the brim with text. And now that I've mentioned jokes, let's dig into the comedy a bit, because I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at a manga ever as I have at 100 Girlfriends. As I mentioned a second ago, one big element of 100 Girlfriends' comedy is its absurd and exaggerated humor. Everything is big and over the top. You can tell that from the title and premise alone, and this exaggeratedness feeds into the emotional moments too, and you get to feel emotion as hard as you get to laugh as hard. Another big joke type in 100 Girlfriends is meta-humor. Usually this is used to point out how absurd the series is and its silliness is, but it's so cleverly used as well to save time, like in chapter 25, where it lists the rules of this eating contest the characters are doing while also showing some fan service images. It makes fun of this at the same time and makes a joke out of that as well, getting a lot of mileage out of these few panels. It always does this throughout the entire manga. It makes every single panel count, and it's either building up to a joke, making you laugh with a joke, or serving some other character building or emotional beat, and it never wastes your time, which I really appreciate. Another great instance and type of meta-humor is in chapter 13, where the chapter just ends halfway through. If you're familiar with basic manga tropes and structure, it'll give you a ton of laughs and keep you on your toes with how witty it can be like this, because it often just plays around with the manga itself. Each girl also has their own quirks and gags, and while some are pretty ordinary, like Kurane being a tsundere, others like Kusuri and her penchant for drugs are anything but normal. These characters and their jokes are constantly interacting with each other too, meaning nothing ever feels stale. You're constantly going to get new types of weird jokes and interactions with all of the girls. And every few chapters a new character joins the manga too, since there is 100 girlfriends, so you're constantly going to get new types of jokes. It's perfectly balanced in every aspect. Jokes land consistently, constantly, and with variety. Even if one thing doesn't make you laugh, another girl or Rentaro will do something funny instead, and if that doesn't make you laugh, the narration or a fourth wall break might. If you have a favorite character, you also don't have to worry about not seeing them for a long time, as the manga consistently attempts to give each one of them a spotlight, either with jokes or emotional moments. So far at chapter 38, there are 9 girlfriends and not one feels neglected. They all get their time to shine, and Rentaro constantly shows them affection. Not only that, but the girls themselves interact with each other and form connections. They're all family together and not just Rentaro's girlfriends individually, which is something I love about the series. It could easily just be a gag manga about Rentaro meeting 100 different girls with surface level quirks and gags, but 100 Girlfriends takes the time to characterize them and not only establishes a relationship with Rentaro, but also with each other, something that might get harder to do later on, but so far the manga has only gotten better with this. It's a testament to how tightly and well written the series is as a whole. And when it needs to, the manga will slow down and let a scene breathe. Rentaro will get to show how kind-hearted and devoted he is to help out any one of his girlfriends who have a problem. These are probably my favorite parts of the manga. After you've laughed a bunch, you get to see characters express genuine emotion to each other, and whatever troubles his girlfriends go through, Rentaro is there to support them as best as he can. These often lead to really nice messages of self-acceptance, but it depends on the character. Regardless though, it often ends with me crying because Rentaro and his girlfriends are all extremely sweet characters, and them showing affection to each other just really moves me. Despite being silly most of the time, it radiates an aura of emotional maturity and sincereness. I can understand why Rentaro would love each of his girlfriends, and I can understand why they all love Rentaro. He's boundless in his love, he's kind and caring, and he will go above and beyond for any of his partners. It's inspiring and makes me want to try harder for the people I love. I think we can all learn a lot from 100 Girlfriends and Rentaro. We should do our best to love each other, to express that love, and to go above and beyond to make our loved ones' lives better. Slowly and steadily, just like Rentaro, by doing our best. I hope you've enjoyed this impromptu video, and happy Valentine's Day if you're watching it on release. I wanted to make something to celebrate love, and I've been reading 100 Girlfriends for a while and have enjoyed it immensely, so I thought this would be the perfect time to make a video on it. If you haven't read the manga yet, I highly recommend you do so, or check out the anime. It's phenomenal and a ton of fun. If this is your first video of mine, I usually make videos on Shonen Jump and other manga, including a series of videos where I go into the history of Shonen Jump from its very beginning. I also have a Discord where you can join and discuss more about the 100 Girlfriends manga or any other manga, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. As always, thank you for watching, remember to be kind, and take care.